Hey guys, it's your favorite mortgage guy, Steve, and it is Friday. And listen, I took the picture down behind me because you know why? You might be able to see the Blue Angels fly by. They're doing some practicing today. It's the Neptune Festival here, and they always fly every single year. So I know they're practicing right now, so you might just see them whiz by here. But listen, today's Friday, and listen, for a lot of you, the weather this week was terrible. Look at it outside, it's beautiful. We had the tropical storm blow through here, blow through many places. All right, so listen, let me start with your questions. The first time home buyer exemption of $25,000. I'm going to come back to that. Actually, no, I'll go ahead and address it right now. Listen, every administration does that. Every administration does that. They always come out with something because remember, they're appealing to multiple people, multiple voters. So, one of the candidates is proposing this credit to the Home Builders Association to build affordable housing. What does that mean? Will this help with inventory? So here's the thing. I'm going to talk about this a little deeper in the session. So I'll come back to that. Is it going to be helpful? Yes and no. And I'll talk about that in a moment. All right. I want to build a new home. How do I finance it? You just call me on that. That's construction or perm loan. Steve, how come you don't talk about politics? Do you have an opinion? I do have an opinion. And guess what? I'm keeping it to myself. But here's what I'm going to tell you guys. Listen to me, and I need you to listen. Just vote. I don't care who you're voting for. Just go out and vote. Don't have a regret if your candidate wins or loses. Here's my honest to God opinion of this. Politics has gotten so bad that, first of all, I'm going to be honest and I'm going to step across the line and I'm going to say, is this the best we have out of a population of 330 million people? These are the two candidates we have? Seriously? So I'm going to put a period on that and say, just go out and vote for whoever your party is or whatever you're thinking, because it's important that you vote. Now, what I'm also going to say, and I think I'm going to probably go ahead and start on the segment now and come back to the other questions. So, at least a dozen of you commented on the debate uh, that we had a couple of weeks ago. And let me reiterate this. I've been in lending for 34 years. I started when rates were 9.75%. I didn't know any better. I just knew that rates were 9.75%. I went out there and I had a job to do. So I've been doing it ever since. We didn't have cell phones back then. We didn't even have laptop computers. We had to take applications with a pen and we had a beeper. A beeper. Remember beepers? Or have you ever heard? Just look it up if you don't know what a beeper is. Called a pager. Well, actually, there's recent news about pagers, how a bunch of people died over there in Iran because their pagers exploded. So look up pagers or beepers. But my point is, so that was when Bush the dad was in. Well, think about how many administrations, both Democrats and Republicans, have been in office. So I've loaned in all administrations, at least two wars, multiple recessions or depression or whatever you want to call it, a pandemic, and all kinds of other things that have flown in between there. So these things that these candidates are touting, it's every 4 years they say the same thing. It's a script. So the reason why I don't comment on it is because I don't care. I've loaned money and people have bought and sold houses in every one of these economies. So please don't get caught up in the hype of this one, that one, what they're saying. Because here's what I'm going to tell you, the bullshit that they're spewing is not going to be the policy that's going to come out. And I'm going to give you a good example, like drill baby drill or this $25,000. Now, those are two separate candidates with those two things. The drill baby drill thing, that doesn't mean the day that person takes office, they're just going to take their pen and sign something and somebody's going to turn the spigot on the oil and it's going to flow. No, you got to go through regulatory compliance and all this other stuff, and it can take up to 3 years. The same with this $25,000 credit they're talking about. They're not going to take their pen and say, okay, everybody gets this money now, just like the lie that they spewed about paying off student loans. It doesn't work like that. It's got to go through regulatory compliance. The lenders have to be able to get their systems updated so that they can show how to work it. And then the agencies have to approve it. So the point is, I've been through this so many times with so many administrations that none of this stuff surprises me. Okay, so you want to know the other side of it? Here's the other side. Where's the inventory of homes that these people are going to buy if they do get this money right away? Just like these builders and these tax credits. First of all, a seller is not going to be a nice guy and say, oh, you know what? You're going to build affordable homes. I'll discount my land to you so that you can build affordable homes. No, they're opportunists. So whatever tax credit they're going to give the builders, it's got to be affordable housing for like the police, the firefighters, the teachers, the regular people of the world that can't afford a house that may need that $25,000 tax credit. So is this going to work? I don't know. I don't think it will, because what is affordable housing nowadays? So this means that in any economic condition and unprecedented rates, the threat of a terrorist attack, the pandemic. Do you think for a minute that I care about politics? No. I just know that people want to buy houses because they can. And I'll tell you this, what we're seeing today is utterly ridiculous. And if you want the change, you got to go out there and vote. And in terms of building 3 million homes, it ain't going to happen overnight. They don't even build 1 million homes a year. So 3 million homes for the shortage, it's going to take a number of years. But yes, the builders will bring us out of this. Okay. So where's this land is the question that this person is asking. I don't know where this land is, but builders are opportunists. The government has never sat there and built a house. When have you ever seen that happen? Yeah, they do it for like military housing, but it's not the government. They're hiring contractors. So this land has got to be in opportunity areas where there are jobs that can fill those vacancies. It doesn't make sense to go build a bunch of homes in the Midwest where you have to drive 2 hours to get to your job. It just doesn't. So they're not going to do that. Who's going to pay for it? What about all the engineering and the infrastructure and all that other good stuff? What about the local locality who's got to determine if their infrastructure will handle it and the permits? So when it comes to building houses, let the builders do their job. If there's tax credits out there, then let them take advantage of those tax credits. Don't get caught up in the hype. Okay, now, after a full review and the skewed jobless figures over these past mishaps, now you guys have seen it. I know you're asking, or Steve, are you going to talk about the recent Fed cut? I am. Trust me, I am. But it appears that 92% of those job creations were part time people or people that may have lost their jobs and started businesses like landscaping or nail salons or beauty parlors or things like that. People have got to earn a living. And I've been saying all along that these companies are just not hiring full-time employees anymore because they don't want to pay the benefits. Now, what I'm saying is don't let this information I'm giving you scare you. Okay. Now, so that song, you've heard that song by Rod Stewart, The First Cut is the Deepest. Let's talk about the Fed, because you know what? It's all about inflation, control, and spending. People are spending more than they're making right now. They're putting it on credit cards. I'm going to switch my script here and I'm going to talk about this Fed rate cut because people are spending money right now. And that's what you want in any economy, but they got to be making it and they can't be putting it on their credit cards because credit card debt is reaching an all-time high and interest rates are going up on those things. So they just cut the Fed target rate to 4.875. They're looking to cut it again. Now, one of the other Fed governors, this is the one I was telling you about that's a lawyer that works for her parents who own a bank. And I don't know how that person got on the Federal Reserve Board, but that's okay. But that person only wanted a quarter point. Now, the Fed's mandate is to stabilize inflation. We've talked about this, where they want to get inflation down to 2%. They're worried about maximum employment. That's their Fed focus right now, towards employment. And they're confident that inflation continues to go down to 2%. And this is what they're doing to do that. Now, again, presidential policy does not play into the Federal Reserve because the Federal Reserve loans to companies, industries, big banks, and foreign governments. Now, job gains have slowed, and their previous statement that they made about, oh, it's doing great. No, they've moderated that back. And the unemployment rate has moved up, but remains at about 4.2%. They're trying to get that down. The economy, and these are comments that the Federal Reserve made the other day, the economy is still solid, and they're talking about the quantitative tightening. Now, we always talk about quantitative easing. That's when the government injects money to buy rates down. Right now, they're tying it to throw off their balance sheet so they can raise more money. Now, what are they talking about doing right now? So their forecast right now is the possibility. Remember me telling you the September rate cut, September 18th? Well, we saw that, But here's the reverse of that. Rates went up a little bit. Yes, you heard me right. That was 2 days ago. The bond market was at 3.62 for the 10-year when the market opened. By the time it closed, it was at 3.75. It's at 3.76 right now. So rates went up a little bit, about 0.1%. But, that's always happens. I think I've mentioned that in past segments, that when you see rates go up, sometimes the market, or go down, sometimes the markets adjust and it takes a couple days to bobble. And we kind of think like next week it's going to bobble backwards. But remember me telling you they were talking about another rate cut in February or November, December. Looks like on November the 7th, they might be talking about a 25 basis point cut, then possibly another December cut of another 25 basis points for a total of 0.5%. So that'd be a 1% cut by the end of the year. Guys, remember, the Federal Reserve does not loan to you. I loan to you. We don't get our money from the Federal Reserve. So those rate cuts are designed to help economic policy around the United States. So they're talking about another 100 basis point cut by the end of 2025. I can't predict that. But what I can tell you is those predictions of those rates by June of next year, those rates are going to start coming into fruition. Will you start to see rates decrease by the end of this year? More than likely, but it's not going to be something that's going to be heavy because they know there's no housing out there. So they're trickling the rates down. Now, core PCE, they're expecting that to be at 2.6 by the end of 2024. Right now, it's at 2.7. So that's positive news. End of 2025, 2-point news, more positive. They're expecting the unemployment to be 4.4 by the end of this year. Guess what it is today? 4.2. It's expected to get worse. All those numbers that they spewed out between April and July that were wrong, it's coming out right now. Some of the other things, the forecast. Now, they're looking at unemployment to come to 4.4 and maybe even 4.5 next year. But what they will see is this. Jerome Powell said that he doesn't see a recession. He sees spending and growth have remained resilient. 50 basis points should be seen as our commitment to not fall behind. The Fed does not think they're behind on the curve. Finally, they're recognizing that. Finally, the federal governors are starting to see that. And listen, if you'll notice in these comments, a 50 basis point cut is not the cadence to get the markets where they want them to be. Market rents are decreasing, but slowly. It will take time to lower rents to filter into inflation readings. So what we're starting to see is stabilization in rents. Now, just as important, guys, I know I'm giving you a lot of data here. Just stay up with me if you can. If you can't, just call me. But remember, how many pennies are in a dollar? You tell them, Scott.
100 pennies in a dollar, not 105.
That's right. So one of the things, I need to make a note here. One of the things that you'll know is that the Federal Reserve is behind us all. They want things to get better. So don't stop buying. Don't think I'm going to wait, because guess what's going to happen? House prices are going up while you're waiting. So you're going to pay the same payment even at a lower rate. But if you buy now and in the meantime rates come down, hey, listen, you get the float down option. So what I want you to know, guys, is this. Did that rate cut, was it the first cut is the deepest? They did a great job on that rate cut, and we're starting to see some meaningful movement. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Is it time to refinance? Yes, start calling me. Let's get out there. Let's look at what your rate is. Is it the real time? I don't know. Would I wait a couple of months? Probably. But if you have to get this done, let's just get it done for you, because the rate now is not going to be much better next year. You're not going to see something in the threes. It's just not going to happen. But are we going to see probably a meaningful discount by June of next year? Yes. Now, what are people doing? They're pre-approving. They're not pre-qualifying. So if you got questions, all my contacts right here, my social media, and down here too. Call me, text me, email me, whatever you need. Just reach out to me, because the longer you wait, the more it's going to cost. Hope you guys have a phenomenal weekend. Bye now.